this is Lady Boule, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, today's discussion has nothing to do with exploring African American culture exactly, but it's sort of connected. Many Africans are angry over this picture right here. These are African leaders going to the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, and they are riding on a bus. So the Africans are upset because their leaders are going to the Queen's funeral on a bus. This is the Ethiopian president. Her name is Sahle-Work Zewde, and I'm sure I didn't pronounce it right. She refused to go. If she couldn't go in a presidential convoy, evidently, she just decided she wasn't going to go. And so the Ethiopians are taking great pride in the fact that their president refused to ride on the bus to the Queen's funeral, that she should be presented like the president of the great nation that she is. So the Africans are going back and forth on this. The Ethiopians now see this as a means of their superiority, evidently, because their leader wouldn't go on a bus. Now, I'm not really sure if this is petty or not, but this is what's trending on Twitter, and the Africans are going back and forth. The Ethiopians began their usual boasting about never having been colonized. They even dragged up this picture and posted this picture of Queen Elizabeth II curtsying to the Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie, the emperor that they didn't protect and let the white supremacists come in and remove him from office. That's what they're posting. So this is what's written of the great lady. The only African representative who refused to be packed in a bus was President Sahle-Work Zewde of Ethiopia. She was asked to go by the bus. She said, "I won't go like this. I need the same level of respect as others." This has many implications. Now, I'm not sure that she was aware that most of the presidents and diplomats went by bus. Only 2 went to that funeral by motorcade, and I'll get to that in a minute. I don't think anybody would disagree that if everybody else was going by motorcade and only the African leaders were having to go on the bus, that she would refuse. I think we all get that. But there were other things to be considered, and there was a method to the madness. Westminster Abbey, where the funeral was held, holds 2,000 people. 500 leaders across the globe were invited to that funeral. If 500 leaders had come in motorcades or just in a car, that would have been a traffic nightmare at Westminster Abbey. Somebody posted this meme of Steve Harvey and asked the question, what were they doing there in the first place? Well, many of them belong to the Commonwealth of Nations, and they have a diplomatic relationship with the UK and with the Queen. And they were on familiar terms with the Queen, and so they wanted to come to the funeral. That's understandable. To me, it's understandable that they will come on the bus if they were asked to, because the reality is many members of that royal family have to come to events like that on a bus or in a van. Only the senior members of the royal family get to come in a chauffeur-driven car or SUV. So I don't really know that I would criticize those leaders for coming on a bus if they wanted to come, which clearly they did, and if it was going to relieve the traffic situation, which clearly it did. Now here is the French President Macron and his wife on a bus with some African or Caribbean leaders. And there are other white leaders on that bus. So it wasn't racially done. It was done out of logistics of how to get the most amount of people in the church with the least amount of congestion. Now that's how I see it. Everything is not about race. But when you're dealing with people like the British, you definitely have to consider it. But these leaders look happy. They're young, they're handsome, they're well dressed. There's nothing wrong with them riding on the bus. The other alternative would be to walk, because they look young and healthy enough they could have walked to the Abbey. But being diplomats, I think I would have ridden on the bus. But I understand the Africans' concern. This whole thing about disrespecting Africa and Africans, leaders and others is something we should all be concerned about, because we all get caught up in that matrix. Even if you don't live in Africa, if you have Africa in you, you weren't born in Africa, but Africa was born in you, as it was in African Americans. We get caught up in the matrix too. Now I want to point out something about the post. The Ethiopians were coming in talking about all of their pride, how they had never been colonized, and going on about how great they are with a superior attitude. And I just wanted to put this optic. I just wanted to put this on the screen. On one side you have Ethiopian famine, and on the other side you have Nigerian famine. So Ethiopia is having the same problems that Nigeria is having. So not being colonized didn't get them anywhere. All of Africa is plagued with three problems: disease, hunger, and war. That's all over Africa. Even when you think they've been stabilized and things are going pretty well, something happens. The enemy comes up on them. That's what I say about it. And it doesn't matter if it's Ethiopia, Somalia, wherever it is in Africa, there seems to be one of the three: disease, hunger, or war, conflict. So until Africa gets itself together, there really is no boasting or bragging as far as I can see. Now this is what set it off. This is President Joe Biden arriving at Westminster Abbey for the Queen's funeral. He's coming in what they call the Beast. That's the presidential limousine for the United States. He and the president of China were able to come in their limousines. This is what set everybody off, because he got to come in his limousine and the rest of them did not. When Queen Elizabeth's death was announced, the first thing that I thought I heard, was that Joe Biden wasn't even going. He was going to send a representative. But he is what they call the president of the free world, and they wanted him there. So they made concessions. She was their queen, and they wanted her honored with his presence. And let me digress for just a second. Watch this. You see how he touched that preacher, that bishop or whatever he is? They're supposed to shake hands and speak to that person. Joe Biden just tapped him and waved him on by. Now that lets you know just how much he thinks about their protocol. That was not protocol. And even I know that. What I would say to the Africans is the reason that Joe Biden can be chauffeured up to Westminster Abbey in a limousine, tap the bishop, and strut into the church like he's the most important person there is because of the American Empire, which was built on the backs of slaves from Africa. The reason these people, these Europeans, get the power and get the recognition that they get over the Africans is because they stuck together in conquering not only Africa, but the world. The United States of America has the world surrounded. We have military installations everywhere, but it's because they stick together and Africans fight each other. So that's the takeaway from that. The reason the African leaders don't get the respect that they deserve, and they do deserve respect, the reason they don't get it is because you don't stick together. The Asians, the Chinese in particular, are threatening to grab power. They made their president, Xi, president for life. And they're going to stick together. They're going to stick together in their quest for whatever it is they're trying to do. And we're not going to get, African people are never going to get anywhere if we don't ever learn how to stick together. If we don't ever learn how to trust each other, we're never going to make it, I don't think. Because nobody feels sorry for you. And they don't see, we think about what's right and what's fair. See, what's right to me wouldn't necessarily be right to a European person. That my right is not their right. So they don't see life the way we do. Well, the right thing to do would let everybody bring their limousine. No, it wouldn't. The right thing to do is let the ones bring the limousine that you want to bring. And that's what they did. So I don't know. One day, maybe one day, we will have a real awakening where we understand that the way this particular dispensation is set up, and I'm talking about the era that we live in, it is based on your skin color. It is based on your race. And you can fight about it. You can whine about it. You can read the Bible. You can shout. You can quote scriptures all you want to. This world, as we know it, and maybe it's changing. Maybe we're in for a new dispensation. But until that dispensation comes in, it's based on race. And you can play yourself if you want to. It's based on race. Black people need to learn how to stick together. The end. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the video. And as always, have a great day.